I've had a couple people ask how to get their donkeys used to having their feet handled. So I'm going to do a quick video. Well, it might not be that quick. I don't know how long it's going to be. I have Coco. She's used to having her feet handled. She's probably the most green one I have for her feet, but I'll just show you the techniques I use. This is my donkey toucher. I have a couple of these. They're basically a broomstick or some sort of stick with a glove that has cotton stuffed in it, taped to it. This just gives them the sensation of touching them, but it keeps you safe. You don't have to get close enough to where they can potentially kick you. And it gets them used some kick as soon as you run your hand on their leg, and I'd rather find that out with the stick than with my head next to them. So the other thing you need to do is your donkey has to have an understanding of clicker training. And by that, I mean they have to understand when a behavior is marked. So for these guys, what I do is I say yes, which is the word that they know means you're doing the right thing, you're getting a treat. And I say that as the hoof is in the air. It's really important to mark that behavior when the hoof is up, because otherwise if you say yes or good donkey or whatever, once their foot's down, they associate the putting the foot down. So they'll start slamming that foot down in anticipation of a treat. So you want to mark the behavior that you want, which is the hoof being held upwards. Okay, so I have my donkey toucher. She hasn't seen this since October probably, when they first came as wild donkeys. So I'm just gonna let her look at it. Okay, I'm back. I had to fix the tripod. So she's standing tied. She's a little concerned because she's not with Beansy. They have pretty big separation anxiety, especially her. So this is my toucher. So I'm going to have her touch it. As soon as she touches it, I say yes and give her a treat. That's just getting her comfortable with it. Good girl. And that's also how you do clicker training. I have some videos on showing you how to do target training that introduces the basics of clicker training. So I'm just going to pet her all over it. So the first thing you want to be able to do is touch your donkey all over with the donkey toucher. So you're just going to stroke. Good girl. Yes. And as she's standing nicely, you say yes and give her a treat. Good girl. Then what I'll do, I like to have donkeys tied up the first few times I work with their feet. It's safer for me. It doesn't let them get away. And some of them will try to blow by you and potentially kick as they go by. So this kind of limits their movement that way. I don't have her tied super tight. She's on a normal, relaxed rope. But it does keep it safer for everyone. There are some that I will work with at liberty, but it's really donkey dependent. Overall, I typically prefer them to be tied when I first start working with their feet. So I'll run the donkey toucher. I'll stand over here, hi Gertie, and I'll run it down this leg. And as long as there's no reaction, yes. I say yes, give a treat. Run it down the leg again, and I always start with the fronts first. Run it down the leg, touch the pastern down there, because that's where, yes, where you're going to be asking her to pick it up, and just say yes. I'm just looking for no reaction. If she lifts it up a little bit, that's fine. I just don't want her striking at it, kicking at it, anything like that. Now you do have to be careful, because some donkeys, when you're working on this front leg, they can kick that leg and come at you. And depending on what you're doing, your head can be in a really dangerous spot. So you always want to, I always keep my eye on that back leg, especially with donkeys that I'm not comfortable with or haven't worked with long. Good. So she does not care about the donkey toucher. So if she did care, I would just keep doing this. Sometimes you can only touch to here before they move. So you're going to touch, and right before they move, you're going to say yes and take it away and give a treat. And eventually, it can take a couple repetitions, a couple sessions, depends on the donkey. You're going to slide that all the way down until yes, a little bit farther, and saying that yes, your marker word, before they move away, and remove the pressure and treat. Okay, so once they're comfortable with that, then we'll go to actually picking up that front foot. So I'm going to pick up the front foot. I'm going to stand facing the back. I'm going to pet her. Good girl. And I'll just kind of slide my hand down that leg. And again, you always want to watch that back leg, but I'll slide to here and see how she is. She should be used to this because I had my hand on a stick, do everything, right? But you just want to make sure. So I'll slide down. Good girl. As long as there's no reaction, I'll do it a couple times. Say yes and give her a treat. And then I'm going to come down to the pastern here, and I lean my shoulder into them a little bit, and I say hoof and ask for it to come. Now these guys, when they're scared and they're green, they might just give you this, and that's it, and that's fine. At least they move that leg. You're just going to say yes and drop it immediately. You don't want them to think that, oh, when you take my leg away, I don't get it back. We're going to build duration. We're going to start with just getting them used to picking that foot up and putting it right back down, realizing that you're not trying to take that foot away or hurt them. You're taking away their defense, so they can get really nervous, they can get really upset. So you just want to let them know that, hey, no, we're not going to fight this out. And this is for donkeys that are green, have never had their feet handled. There's different techniques that I would use for like spoiled donkeys that know exactly what they're supposed to be doing and just would prefer not to. Because in those cases, that can be a little bit more of a battle. But for these guys that don't have a clue what you're asking, this is how I proceed. Good. Which is most of your tip train burros, most of your BLM burros, they don't have a solid hoof foundation at all. So I'll slide down to the pastern, squeeze it a little bit with my fingers and lean into it with my shoulder and say hoof. And then as soon as she lifts it, I'll say yes. She can hold it here for a while. Your green donkey, you might only get it for a second, and that's fine. You're gonna say yes while the foot is up, and then you let that foot go and you give a treat. Step back, take some pressure off, give a treat. And I'll do just a couple repetitions each foot. I don't drill it. I'll do a couple repetitions. If they respond well, then we'll move on to something else or move to the back feet. You can always come back to things numerous times in a session. It's not like you can only work on feet now. I mix sessions up entirely. The other thing I do is I always make sure I handle feet in different places, because sometimes if you only handle them here, this is the only place they know how to pick up their feet. So when you go out on the trail and your donkey gets a rock in their hoof, they have never picked up their feet anywhere besides this one little spot. And so they're like, what the heck's going on? I have no idea. They don't generalize well. So every time with my green donkeys, I pick up their feet in the pasture, I pick their feet up in the stall, I pick their feet up when we're walking, I pick their feet up in the arena, just anywhere you can, just to get them used to it. Good girl. And she's a sweet girl. Good girl. Okay, so now to the back feet. Again, tied up, same thing. You want to be able to touch them all over with your donkey toucher. I stay kind of up here just so you're out of range. These guys can be ninjas. They can get that back foot up past their front feet sometimes, depending on the donkey. So I'll slide it down the leg. And when I pick up donkeys' hooves on donkeys that I don't know or green donkeys, I ask right below the hock. I don't slide my hand any lower because that just puts your face in way too vulnerable a position. So I'll slide down, touch him here. Good, yes, reward. And when you reward, you take the pressure away and give a treat. And then I'll slide down the leg to the hock here. Yes, no reaction, excellent. You're just basically trying to see if they're gonna kick when you slide your hand down their leg. Good, good girl, yes. And she's obviously not gonna kick. So once you do this a couple times, you're confident they're not kicking at it. If they kick at it, what do you do? So what I'll do is I touch, and then I'll reward right before they kick. So I'll go to here, and let's say I know if I touch here, she's gonna kick. I'll touch to here, and as soon as she doesn't kick, I'll say yes and take it away. And slowly inch my way slowly down the leg. Tiny repetition, so like next time maybe on the hock, and she doesn't kick, yes. Next time a tiny bit below the hock, yes. Saying yes when she doesn't kick. Now if she kicks, you can keep it on there if they're not too, and then as soon as they stop kicking, you take it away. Or if they're getting really worked up, I just take it away and try again. Either way, you have to kind of go with your gut, what feels best for you. Good girl, yes. So then I'll come in with my hand. Again, always watch your head, you want to be careful. So I'll scratch the butt a little bit, slide my hand down to just below the hock, lean my shoulder in and say hoof while giving a little squeeze, yes. Then when I have the hoof like this, so for your green donkey, that's all you ask for. You ask for just a split second, yes, put it down, reward. And each time you can ask for a little bit longer duration. This time slide to here, hoof, good, yes. Once they're comfortable with that and holding it up for a few seconds duration, hoof, then you can bring this other hand and grab that hoof, and that way you have your hands free to clean or do whatever you need to do. You need to trim, girl. You need to trim. But hopefully that can get you started, get a couple sessions in, and then go from there.